Just like a painter's palette consists of a range of colours that can be mixed to create the exact colour that the artist wants to put on the canvas, we too have an emotional palette which works much in the same way. Our emotional palettes consist of ranges of feelings and intensity of feelings. The feelings which our emotional palette contains range from things like deep depression to absolute bliss, and from white hot hellfire rage to heavenly peace and love and everything in between. Inside you is a palette of feelings containing every emotion that a human can experience. When it comes to using your guidance feelings to figure out how you truly feel, which makes you feel better and makes you feel good, it's like we can draw a line. Anything underneath this line are feelings in our subconscious. This is where the feelings dwell that we don't yet know that we carry within us. Anything above this line is your consciousness. This is where you can read your feelings, and it's where you can feel and experience them too. The line itself also has a role. If you don't know what's underneath this line, the feelings in your subconsciousness, then the line causes emotional tension, emotional pain, and emotional agony. When you repeat how you truly feel and you're correct in your labeling, you bring those feelings above the line and into your conscious mind, which reduces the tension or pain and starts to make you feel good. But when it comes to using your guidance feelings to bring the feelings from below the line where they cause you emotional pain to above the line and into your consciousness where you'll feel good feelings, the truth is that there is a range of feelings within your emotional palette that your guidance feelings have no effect on. There is a range of feelings that if you use your guidance feelings to bring them above the line, you won't feel lightness, you won't feel emotional pain mixed with lightness. Instead, you will feel animalistic feelings mixed with lightness. Less you will be left with the animalistic feelings in your mind and body. But first of all, what are animalistic feelings? Our animalistic feelings are feelings of intense anger, not just an everyday type of anger. They are feelings of pure rage, and not just any type of rage, but feelings of red hot rage. And at the very bottom of your emotional palette, there are feelings beyond red hot rage. Feelings so intense that we haven't yet come up with the words to describe them. We could call these types of feelings white hot rage, but whenever you experience these feelings for yourself, then you'll know that even calling these feelings white hot rage doesn't even come close to describing them fully. Meaning, if you was repeating to yourself, I feel white hot rage, then your guidance feelings wouldn't understand what it is that you're saying, as we haven't come up with a language to describe and to represent these types of animalistic feelings that we all have in our emotional palette. How to deal with the animalistic range of emotions. The way to deal with animalistic types of feelings is to be like an animal and roar those animalistic emotions out. Wow, roaring, is that it? Yes, roaring, that is it. Roaring out emotional pain can be absolutely amazing if it's done in the right way. Roaring out emotional pain is done in 3 steps. The first and most important of which being protecting your confidence. When it comes to roaring out animalistic feelings, protecting your confidence as much as we can is by far the most important part of this process. This is done by you choosing a room to roar in, a room where you won't be disturbed, and if the room has a lock on the door, then this would be ideal. I always thought that the bathroom worked best as my roaring room. The second thing to do to protect your confidence is to turn on the TV or play music in other rooms to help drown out the noise. And if you choose the bathroom as your roaring room, turn on the sink taps and the shower whilst you roar, as this helps to drown out even more noise. And finally, grab a towel, roll it up and pour it to your mouth to roar into, as this will muffle the sound excellently. Once you've taken these steps to protect your confidence, let's talk about roaring in the correct way. When you roar in the correct way, it shouldn't hurt your throat. If roaring does hurt your throat, then you're not roaring correctly. The way to ensure that your throat doesn't hurt isn't to roar quietly, as this wouldn't get rid of much emotional pain. But to protect your throat and to roar in the correct way is to roar in a lower pitch as possible. When you roar, you shouldn't feel pain or sensations at the top of your throat. You should feel vibrations just below your Adam's apple or at the very top of your chest. You should also be bent at the waist and leaning forward. So roaring doesn't sound like this. It sounds like this. But roaring alone won't work, as we have to make sure that we are roaring out emotional pain. To make sure that you're roaring out emotional pain and not just roaring and making loud noises, is to ensure that when you roar, you focus on your feelings of pain and let that emotional pain dictate to you how deeply you should roar and for how long you should have roaring sessions for, as you're literally burning up and getting rid of that emotional pain through roaring. And finally, part 1. As you roar, let your emotions take over. Allow yourself to become emotional and allow yourself to become a beast and roar with all of your might until you feel better than you did. If images come to mind of people or situations, imagine them in the room with you. In your mind, put them in the corner of the room and roar all of your emotion out at them. If you find that you're not big enough to be able to handle all of the emotion, or if images comes to mind of a past bully making you feel scared, then imagine yourself becoming half you and half animal. And even if it's an animal from mythology, like a werewolf, roar at them like half you and the half werewolf would. And finally, part 2, Electric Boogaloo. Feeling silly while you roar is a perfectly normal reaction to have. But feeling silly will soon disappear once you get into a session of roaring. And you'll soon build up some experience of roaring out emotion, which will make you feel better than you have in a good while, helping you develop new associations with roaring out animalistic emotional pain. And finally, part 3. Don't let the sweeper part of you write this off, telling you roaring doesn't work before you've even tried it for yourself. This does work, and it works fantastically well when it comes to getting rid of animalistic emotional pain. But the sweeper part of you doesn't like change. And since this idea is an unexpected change that makes you feel silly in the beginning, means that the sweeper part of you will be telling you all sorts of crap, just to stop you from even trying. Why does roaring out emotions work? Roaring out our painful emotions works because roaring isn't a logical thing to do. It's an animalistic emotional tactic to use. If you choose to carry on with the self-help system, then it won't be long before you're dealing with some intense emotional pain and some intense emotional animalistic pain, as we will soon be using stressful situations that happen in your life to emotionally link back to past events, even past childhood events that you still carry within the deeper parts of you. And if you're stuck right now and can't figure out what your emotional pain represents, having a go at roaring out your emotional pain right now will give you a chance to practice on how to roar in the correct way. And it will help you build up positive associations with roaring out painful emotions. And this is before we get into dealing with those proper intense animalistic range of emotions that are attached to your past events. In the previous video, I spoke about taking the lid off your inner yogurt pot. And I spoke about your inner yogurt being made of fire and brimstone with a hint of molten lava for a bit of extra pain. I chose those words carefully when I spoke about your inner pain. They weren't hyperbole, and I wasn't just making a joke. What lays in your inner yogurt is some intense, scary, impossible emotional pain. And we need a plan to deal with it before your emotional self starts to begin you this intense emotional pain, and roaring out your emotions like an animal does the job nicely. I'll end by saying that I haven't really spoken about the benefits that comes with roaring out animalistic pain, or how you will feel after a session of roaring out pain. And the reason for this is because I want to leave it as a surprise for you, but it's good. Oh my god, it is good. With that said, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.